Welcome to another episode on the Home Tech Talk podcast. My name is Jake.
And my name is Aidan.
On this episode, we'll be covering the Stereonet HIFI Show down in Melbourne. I unfortunately wasn't able to make it. However, Aidan went down and had a chat with a few of the guys at the show.
Yeah, in this episode, I was lucky enough to catch up with Ross and Jack from Pitt Giblin, a really cool speaker manufacturer located here in Australia. They're doing really interesting things with powered hi-fi speakers.
Yeah, so we hope you enjoy this episode, and please don't forget to like and subscribe to keep up to date.
Sitting down looking at the Pitt Giblin speaker range, do you want to just give us a bit of a rundown? We've got Ross and Jack, who are the designers, engineers, builders, manufacturing?
Bit of manufacturing.
Yeah, nice. So, I mean, super interesting. Two models in the line. What is that, Superwax?
Yeah, we've got Superwax behind us.
Yep.
Superwax is a three-way loudspeaker. All our speakers are active, and the reason for that is a very conscious choice. Jack will probably expand more on that. But yeah, we've got Superwax behind us, which is a three-way, double 15-inch 10, and a 1-inch compression driver, and then we've got Superwax Mini, which is a two-way.
Yeah. And that is a very particular looking waveguide. What are we working with there?
The waveguide was the starting point in the system, effectively. It's the culmination of a fairly intensive and fairly long-term study into waveguide directivity control. So effectively trying to optimise the consistency of the response in room, as opposed to just tuning for a single listening position, which is not really effective in real rooms because you've got a lot of reflections going on that a lot of kind of manufacturers don't account for.
So is it a wide dispersion pattern or is it narrow?
It's a fairly wide dispersion pattern, but the width is less critical than the consistency of performance as you change in relationship to
so as you go off axis, there's no loss in performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, very consistent frequency response off axis, and the use of DSP enables that because we can correct for the power response.
Yeah, and I mean the finish. I mean it's not just a plastic press mold.
No, absolutely not. So they're cast in solid phosphor bronze. They're about 7.5 kilos each. Yeah. Two reasons for the casting. The main one is the reproducibility. So we get a really consistent profile. The pattern is exact. They're also CNC machined to make sure that the contours and everything are perfect, exactly as designed. And also, we love the way the bronze looks.
Yeah, and that's very, very. I mean, it's an incredible looking product. There's not. I mean, even the cabinet and the way that the brass matches to that front baffle looks magic.
Thank you.
So, I mean, you guys are pretty young. I mean, it's not common that, especially at a hi-fi show, that we see this sort of demographic. How do we sort of get more of people of your age bracket or the new generation of audio people into this? Is this like, I guess you guys come from a bit of a live performance type of background. Is that the performance characteristic that you try and build in, and that's the excitement of it? Or
there's a fair bit of that built in. I mean, we designed a product effectively that mimics the sort of environments that we like to listen to music in and the experience that we want to create and facilitate people having sort of at home.
Yeah.
So yeah, the live kind of the big dynamic sound, the ability to push the levels up a bit and maintain the clarity and the lack of distortion is all kind of part of it.
Well, they are certainly doing that. Those Superwaxes can go quite loud.
Yeah, I guess loudness isn't all of it. Part of it is has to do with, I guess, what people consider to be speakers or hi-fi or listening systems. So much of the culture, I guess, surrounding music listening has changed with, I guess, the advent of more mobile and wireless streaming and tiny portable music players and headphones and iPod. And I think that people are probably now coming back around to actually spending time listening to music at home. I think that we've certainly seen it even with our time at the Hi-Fi Show. Our first one as just patrons, as visitors to the show 4 years ago now, we would have been the youngest people here by a country mile. and now we're back 4 years later with, I guess, some more experience. But there's other people here that are younger than us. People looking around, people experiencing new ways to experience music. Really, yeah.
So it is interesting, that whole playback on your mobile device and whatever else. I think historically it was like people sitting down with the time and intent just to concentrate on the music. I think that's probably still not where we're at, but now it's more like a case of like just having a good quality playback system for you to walk around and enjoy the sound, the music throughout your home with whatever you happen to be doing. So it's like multitasking.
And you can tell by the people that are coming through the door as well. Like, there's still like something awkward going on when you ask people, what would you like to listen to? And they go, whatever you would recommend that best suits the speaker. And those are the ones that you can tell aren't actually music focused. They're people that are more interested in the equipment and listening to music on equipment, not necessarily listening to the music. But more and more, and the people that spend a more significant amount of time in our listening room, they're happy to listen to the music that they want, and they are confident with their choices as well.
That's very interesting. I think I'm quite guilty of the equipment thing. I'm a bit of a gearhead myself.
I mean, everyone can be, and even though we're certainly like music focused, it's hard not to find tracks that are like particularly well mastered that aren't necessarily the sort of music that you listen to. But you've got to come back to the stuff that really that really resonates with you, and that's what we look for in our speakers. The ability for that experience to sound even better.
I see you getting some good traction in sort of like some like bars and things like that, like people in those environments. It seems to suit that environment really well and gives people a really kind of good hi-fi type experience in those, like, what are they, like bars, wine bars, restaurants, cafes type?
All of the above, yeah. We've sort of partnered with a few venues like that, primarily because we want to showcase our product in an environment that we think is enjoyable to be in, and gets people to sort of enjoy the product in a comfortable atmosphere rather than feeling like they're sort of being put on trial in a hi-fi store. Yeah, so do you send people to those places? So go and have a beer and definitely
have a listen to the system. Yeah, that's a really interesting way of going about it.
And most of the bars, wine bars, restaurants, cafes that we do partner with get feedback, not only on the speakers but also on, I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it, like the acoustic intent, like it's music forward. So we try and make sure that it's not just expensive speakers put in a room, like most of this, a lot of this hi-fi show. They go the extra mile. That we do consultation with acoustic treatment, which doesn't only just better the experience of music, but also the experience of the space, and talking with friends and enjoying what you're there for.
Yeah, being able to just have a conversation in a space and still enjoy some music at the same time, as opposed to just listening to the reverb of a room.
Yeah, so often it's mutually exclusive because either you can't hear the music or you can't hear who you're talking to.
Yeah, that's and so you guys are regularly building acoustic panels and whatnot, just to...
Not building so much, but certainly aiding specification and, basically pointing commercial venues and things in the right direction.
Yeah, cool.
The bigger the space gets, the more kind of intensive that becomes, but... Yeah, definitely.
And like with your ability to utilise DSP, do you do room-specific like EQ or setup in those venues?
Absolutely. So one of the big things with our business model being direct to consumer, we really enjoy talking to all of our clients directly, and we install ourselves and do room tuning for them to sort of maximise the performance in their space. Sometimes kind of multiple presets to optimise either for a single listening position for people that do a lot of the really intentional listening, or alternatively just removing kind of problematic parts of the in-room response for people that listen kind of all over a bit more.
Yeah, that's something that's obviously, not that common in the traditional hi-fi space. I mean, DSP is going to, and room calibration is coming, the benefits of that are pretty well widely known at this point, but being able to do that in each speaker and, without the use of external hardware is pretty unique.
The other thing that that you were touching on before about the sort of the younger generation, I think a lot of people really value convenience, and so a big part of the product is that we have an active source selection and automatic switching. So if you go home and you get your phone out and you play some music to your streaming device or whatever it may be, everything's all automatic. So using the product is the same amount of effort as playing to any other little Bluetooth speaker or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we do some tuning to optimize the response and consistency throughout a kind of wide living area.
Yeah.
It just means that you get home and even if you're cooking dinner or something, you put some music on, and so rather than having an expensive hi-fi system that's used once a blue moon when you get the time, it becomes part of your everyday life, and people listen to more music more of the time and enjoy it more.
And it's easier and quicker to access. And that's the same. Like, you did have many people connecting like TVs and things to these, or so they've got digital or optical digital inputs.
Most people use multiple sources.
Yeah.
I don't have a TV, but personally I have a record player and a streamer, and just switch between the two. But lots of people use them kind of either side of a TV.
Yeah.
Do a bit of streaming, watch some movies, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, cool. What else do we need to know about them? Made in Hobart?
Yeah, I guess they're not available in passive for a lot of good reasons.
Yeah.
Accessibility is one thing. I mean, we're going for a very high performance product in the price bracket, and also using the technology that we have. So like, even though elements of Superwax and Superwax Mini are quite traditional, like they're a relatively square box, big drivers, massive cast bronze waveguide. We're using DSP and active amplification to, I guess, take a more contemporary take on this. And I think that if you don't quite understand why we can't make them passive, there's a lot of good resources on our website as to why we don't. Primarily, it has to do with utilising the technology of especially the constant directivity waveguide, which Jack might probably expand on a little bit.
We could very easily get deep into the weeds here, but the short version
Don't do it to me. I can't keep up with that.
The short version is that optimizing the power response and the consistency as you move off axis comes with an inherent trade-off with the on-axis frequency response, and DSP allows us to correct for that in a way that you just can't do passively. The alternative, the kind of traditional use of horns rather than waveguides, is effectively optimizing for on-axis frequency response at the expense of power response. So the waveguide is very much designed with DSP in mind, and is the two function together.
Yeah. So it's a complete ecosystem type
It is.
of thing.
It absolutely is. And I mean, the short version is that a passive version wouldn't sound nearly as good.
Yeah. And that's a way for you guys to control the performance that you're getting out, for people out in their own homes, so that you can guarantee that they're going to get the best
It
outcome.
is a guarantee, and it's an out of the box plug and play speaker that is unlike probably just about anything else realistically.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of many large format active speakers that you can just get out and plug in and they just sound good.
Yeah.
Certainly a little bit of tweaking would be required for complex rooms, but we've done most of the hard work.
Also, that the product gives you the ability to do that tweaking without needing additional equipment. I mean, there's the old school kind of hi-fi crowd, I guess, enjoys a lot of the gear side of things, which is totally valid. But the tinkering and the matching of equipment and everything is a bit of a barrier to entry for a lot of people. Right. And we're trying to provide a product that somebody can, put in their home, and instantly they have great sounding music that's easy to run, all that sort of stuff. It simplifies it.
Yeah, easy to get performance. I mean, they're a piece of art effectively. As with that waveguide, I mean, it's definitely unique. It's like nothing else that I've seen, at least not here anyway. So, yeah, congratulations. I think we've pretty much covered it. Well done.
Thank you.
Product looks great. Sounds
Thanks
great.
for having us.
No worries. Thanks for doing it.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like and subscribe to keep up to date and see many more from the Stereonet HIFI Show in Melbourne.
Thanks for watching, and there'll be links in the description below for each of the products that we discussed in this episode.